So, Lokesh, with that introduction, perhaps I could dive into my first question. So you can't pick up the newspapers in India right now without headlines talking about how FIIs have been pulling money out of India, how FDI in India has been drying up. And against that backdrop, what I was really interested by was the comments at Davos by your chief minister when he pointed out that almost 25% of inward investment into India is being directed towards projects in Andhra Pradesh. So how do you explain that?
Thank you, first off, for having me. Really appreciate it. Andhra, as all of you know, has gone through its own evolutionary process. We are now a new state. This is the fourth time around that we are building a capital city. We've had a bad phase between 19 and 24, but three distinct reasons why Andhra Pradesh post-24 is again able to position itself on the world map. One is our chief minister. The first point is because Mr. Naidu is known for building cities, Mr. Naidu is known for building new ecosystems, and now he's doing it all over again in Andhra Pradesh. So he's a leader with a proven track record. Two is speed of doing business. So let's talk about what we've done for Google. Right, the entire data center ecosystem that we are now building up in Visakhapatnam, the pace at which that we are able to do is unheard of, where various other countries are actually envious about. Let's talk about the ArcelorMittal project that we have now, that we've grounded in Andhra Pradesh in about 17 months. Even getting the environmental clearance, land, R&R closed, 3,000 acres given to them. It's going to be one of India's largest FDI investment in green steel. So speed, I can't emphasize the importance of speed, and that's again what sets us apart from other states. Third is what I call a double engine bullet train sarkar. So while in India you have a lot of states which call about double engine train sarkar, I believe that Andhra Pradesh is the only state that has two, one of course our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and of course Mr. Naidu ji together, who are able to drive agenda positively and able to ground investments positively. And that's something that's very unique to us. So we have the wherewithal to also positively move the needle in terms of policy. So to get the data center investment to India, we had to change things like permanent establishment, the regulations around it, the taxation around it. We got it done. So these are three distinct reasons why Andhra Pradesh is able to move the needle and make some meaningful impact in the space of FDIs.
So thank you for that. And there's a lot to dig into over there because it's not as easy as just, I guess, saying speed just when you're actually practically implementing it. But let's talk about the Google situation a little bit. Can you give us a little bit of color, background to it, how it came about, and what it is that you'll achieve with Google in the state?
So everything starts with a WhatsApp message in Andhra Pradesh. So Google is no different. So as soon as the government, we got elected back, it was very important that we take a position in AI, and AI is powered by data centers. So our entire belief is that every industrial revolution has created more jobs than it has replaced, but in geographies that were ready for it. And AI is here. It is going to change the way we're going to communicate, the way we're going to work. And I believe that the state has to embrace it. Otherwise, you're going to be replaced. As simple as that. So when Mr. Naidu was very clear, we'll take a position in it and close to about, I think our policy talks about 6.5 gigawatts of data center position. There are usual suspects, and one of it was Google. And from our first conversation with, now I can openly say with Bikas, who's the head of infra, to actually breaking ground was about 13 months. And we worked with them. We worked with them on the policy, we worked with them on the cable landing station, we worked with them on identifying land. And we also worked with trying to educate the locals. I'm not saying I've done it all, but we're in the process. The importance and the strategic importance of actually having a data center in India and more so in Andhra Pradesh on the eastern seaboard, given the geopolitical situation that we're going through, is very important. Now, how do I look at it as a data center in terms of driving my economy and job creation? One, geopolitically it works. It's important, strategically important. Sovereign cloud is critical. Having cable landing stations in Vishakhapatnam plays a very important role in building the larger AI and IT ecosystem. 3, for me, it's not just about the data centers, but it's all about the entire ancillary ecosystem that we're going to build. It could be the power electronics, the air conditioning, the whole 9 yards. So I'm working with Google and few other partners who are looking at investing now in Andhra Pradesh to building the entire ecosystem. So I want to capture the entire value and all the jobs that can be created in the ecosystem.
So that's a really interesting point you're bringing up, because I think that large companies have a little bit of an advantage. If you're Google or if you're some other big name, you're able to get heard in terms of what your needs are. But sometimes smaller companies don't have that. So how are you dealing with the regulatory cholesterol that we have quite often in India to make sure that the not Googles of the world have that same speed and that same time to market and breaking ground and are able to complete that ecosystem for you?
I think that's a very, very valid question. For us, it's about how do we simplify the entire process. 2, how do we deliver on speed and provide an environment of a stable regulatory framework. So these are the 3 S's that I follow. So as you rightly said, as important as the Googles of the world are, the SMEs are more important because they create the maximum number of jobs and impact at the field level. So under the leadership of our SME minister, we are now looking at deemed permissions. So you can start your business, 3 years to get all your permissions. And how can we make it all online? The Jan Vishwas bill enables us to do a lot of magic in that. So we did a lot of deregulation of, Nala taxation and so on and so forth. So we have done a lot of work in demystifying, as you said, the regulatory cholesterol. And that's something that I believe we just started off. So honestly, I don't have all the answers. But the intent is very clear and the state is taking the right steps in that direction. And of course, technology is here and we can use technology a lot more better in terms of delivering that. So these 3 S's, I believe, can really deliver to that entrepreneur who's going to create 10 jobs, 50 jobs, 100 jobs. For me, that's very, very important.
So talk to me a little bit about how you go about this business of bringing stakeholders along. So you said in the case of Google, you convinced stakeholders that this was in the best interests of the state and they came along. So how are you doing that in other areas? What are the efforts that are being made?
See, the most important thing we all need to understand is that any individual will have an emotional attachment with the land that they currently own. So as a state, when I want to bring in a large project and it's that farmer's land or that individual's land that I will require, we need to have a very open conversation in terms of the benefits, one, of the project, to the kind of ecosystem we're going to build, the benefits that their family will get in terms of job creation. 3rd is fair compensation to the land and a very transparent model. What Andhra has done under the leadership of Mr. Naidu since 1995, if I may, is to showcase this. So people trust. If there's no trust, then you're not going to succeed. And Mr. Naidu has consistently done this very well. So if you look at ArcelorMittal project, it's 3,000 acres, 660 families. That once we delivered on our promise, they said, we are ready. And they moved. No issues whatsoever. Greenfield Steel City Agreement. Because people know that it is ArcelorMittal, it's going to happen. It's not hoarding of land. So I think giving that sense of confidence to your electorate is going to be very, very critical. Coming to data center, I think it's very prevalent to have this conversation because they're completely 2 extreme views. Is data center good? Well, let me rephrase. There's an extreme view that data center is bad and there's an extreme view that data center is good. So it's important to have conversations with people who believe that data centers are not good. Like, why do they believe that? Few examples of the US is a bad example for us in the country because we have one nation, one grid, which the US doesn't have. If you look at water, close to 3,000 TMCs of Godavari water flows into the sea every year. That's equivalent to the water consumption of whole of Vietnam, the whole of Brazil. The 6.5 gigawatts that we intend to build out in data center requires 1 TMC. So in comparison, a 1 gigawatt thermal plant consumes 7 times more water then 1 gigawatt data center. So all of us are talking about the data center, but no one's talking about the thermal plant. Like just to put things in context, right? So it's important to have these conversations. It's important to have this conversation with the youngsters because it's their future. And rightfully so, they should have a voice at the table. So we are engaging with them. So my member of parliament, who represents that parliament where all the data centers are coming up in Visakhapatnam, is meeting with all these youngsters. He's having an open conversation with them to understand what's their fears. And then how can we sort of learn from it, and if there's any zoning or anything that needs to be further fine-tuned, we're willing to do that. But it's important to bring all of them across the table and give them a voice.